Is this the
It's
Blair
the
Witch
rumbling.
Project?
Oh no. So us stands, we like to sit here and say we could sit and talk about our favorite things all day long. And back in July, we said the same thing. Turns out we lied. Our limit was about 90 minutes because after 138, we were tired. We were not mentally present enough to do 139 well. We were kind of speed walking through it like, yup, that happened. Yup, that happened. And then we moved on. But we're here to do it right today. What do you
Yeah.
think of that, Lewis?
I'm ready to give it more energy, and you know what? I'm getting ready to rumble. Let's get this started.
Oh
I
no.
had to sneak it in.
No, you didn't.
Just forgive me like Armin forgive Darren. You could hopefully learn to do that.
Oh no.
We're gonna have to
Thank
talk about that later on.
Yeah, yeah, we will. But overall, if you ask me what my thoughts were on the ending, first of all, I'd say that I have no thoughts because my brain is so fried from all the arguing. I feel like I have less and less to say about it every day. I think at this point I find myself giving the most neutral, amicable answers just because I just don't feel like getting into it with literally every person on the internet. I just
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I just feel just tired.
same, literally. But I mean, if I were to summarize my opinion on like this final story progression, I'd say that Mikasa made for an engaging, tragic hero, and Eren made for a compelling, sympathetic villain. And this chapter pertains to developing the latter, with it basically being like Eren's like lament, essentially. So I mean, if you had to sum it up in like one sentence, what would you say about the ending?
Honestly, I'm at a loss for words. It's an ending. I
It does end.
it does end the
It is
story.
indeed, it is the last chapter. It certainly is the end.
I'd say if I could sum it up with one word, I would honestly say bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's as sad as some people thought it was gonna be, but it's also not like a happy ending. Like you can't have a happy ending after you kill 80% of humanity.
Yeah, exactly. It's not uplifting, but it's not completely downtrodden. That was a poor choice of words.
Yeah. It's
I'm
an
sure certain
ending.
people did feel downtrodden.
Maybe a little too down in the ground, but
Yeah. No. Okay, stupid jokes aside, let's uh before we start, I do have like this quick mini rant to get out of the way. People have this comparison to the Game of Thrones ending, and it really irritates me because if you want to zoom out really, really far and say that certain things would have felt more natural had they been given more time to develop, then sure, I agree with that. But that greatly exaggerates the extent to which this criticism applies. Like, I think I said this, but if this shit was paced like Game of Thrones season 8, Aaron would have seen his mother get eaten and then did the rumbling the next episode. And I know you've never seen Game of Thrones, but just to give you an idea of how rushed that shit was. Also, I feel like it's an insult to Izuyama's character to compare his efforts to D&D's non-efforts. The endings were both rushed, I agree, but not nearly to the same degree and not for the same reasons behind the scenes. I think I'm also going to play the trigger card right now and say that the Game of Thrones comparison trivializes my frustrations because truly no one other than us GOT stands can understand both like the seething rage and the hollow sadness of watching something we love get thrown away for nothing. I tell you, there was no reason that it ended in shit other than the showrunners just didn't feel like it anymore.
yeah, I never got into Game of Thrones, and when it ended, I especially knew I wasn't gonna get into it. Because the way people talked about the ending, again, I haven't seen the show, I don't know the ending, but they talked about it in a way that made it seem like it just ruined the whole show up until that point.
Um,
Um,
it it was definitely tough. I wouldn't say it ruins like the experience of watching the first seasons because again you don't know what's coming, but it definitely feels like in the end it was all for nothing. But just my
yeah,
general PSAs for the 139 antis. This man tried and you just didn't like it. D&D literally said, fuck you, we don't feel like doing this anymore. So here's this half-ass trash to wrap it up as quick as possible. Bye. So it's not the same. So be quiet and don't diss Izuyama like that, okay? The man, he tried, okay? He tried.
yeah, I definitely think that this ending, while it is lackluster in some regards, some that we're about to reach pretty soon in a couple panels, I don't think it really just ruins or removes the integrity of Attack on Titan as like a show
No,
or
it
like as a
doesn't.
story, you know?
It doesn't. And yeah, no. Let's just start. I'm getting mad. Okay.
Yeah, let's get into this talk.
Let's just
We can
start.
skip.
I'm like re-experiencing the 2019 rage. All right, so opening panel or opening page, the title, Towards the Tree on That Hill, final chapter. Strangely enough, I can never remember the chapter titles. Up until I started writing this, I completely forgot what this one was called. I just called it 139, and I called every chapter by its number. But the title, Towards the Tree on That Hill, has not kind of got me deep in my feels, to be honest with you. You know, that particular spot, the tree on the hill, is like Aaron's childhood resting place, and eventually it's his final resting place. His soul was finally at peace there. And the sense of finality that I get from this chapter doesn't really come from world events. You know, humanity is scrambling to pull itself together after the rumbling. Paradise is a mess politically, and our characters are left with plenty of loose ends. So the sense of being a closing chapter comes from, you know, Aaron's own demise and how oddly tranquil it's handled. Like this angry, trapped, confused, and, you know, defeated soul is now like just laid to rest. And that's what I feel like the finality comes in.
You do make
And
a
also,
really
oh,
good point. Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry. I'm so
No,
sorry.
keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say you do make a really good point about that because, like you said, the show starts with Aaron waking up from under the tree and it ends with him resting under that tree. It's like
Yeah.
almost beautiful in a sense if,
Mhm.
you know, everything that led up to that point hadn't just happened.
Yeah. And I mean, also this chapter, we clarify a lot about, you know, character state of minds, you know, clear up confusion, or, you know, supposedly that's what this was supposed to be. And you know, again, the war is over for now. And we have our moment of like respite and relief, much as like, you know, Aaron found under that tree. And even after these 8 pages, the spot under the tree is where we end the story as well as began it, you know. AOT is all about cycles. All right, with that, we can finally get off this one.
Yeah. Here we have Armin talking to Aaron. This segment right here actually takes place before the climactic final battle. It's when
Mhm.
Armin's like on the ship and he's like dozing off.
Mhm.
And you see that near the middle of this chapter, but it's just kind of you know, this is kind of sad when you think about it because this is the last time that Aaron and Armin really have like a heart to heart talk.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, we start with the first thing that I would have asked, like, "Hey Aaron, why'd you beat the fuck out of me?"
Yeah.
That's the first thing I would have said. I'm like, first of all, we're gonna clear this up.
Yeah.
But Aaron gives an oddly, you know, a very humanizing answer. He's just like, I just lost track of myself and what I was doing. It which we'll touch on more when he reveals the true effect of the attack titan's powers, that, you know, the ones that the effects that it has on his mind. But yeah, it's just we're getting our first real insights into Aaron as, you know, just a person. And I mean, we got that a little bit with 131, but that was when we saw him crushing people. So it was a little, we felt a bit of a removal there. But here we feel connected to Aaron once more. And Aaron also confirms here that everything he said at the table scene was some BS. Although I would argue, though, I have a theory. That the reason that Aaron's performance was so convincing was because there were some genuine frustrations that he had with both of them, both Armin and Mikasa. I think after Mikasa confessed to him back in season 2 about that, you know, that she loved him and everything like that, he started to accept that she had good intentions behind the mothering and the throwing herself at him and everything. But I think it was still pretty clear that he didn't like it. Also, I mean, 123, this is a bit more of a stretch. 123 heavily indicates that Aaron was, you know, let down when Mikasa said family when he asked what he meant to her, right?
Mhm.
And as we know it, that was kind of like the final straw before he went all in. And so maybe in like this irrational kind of way, he not blames her, but like blames that moment and is kind of channeling that disappointment into this lie. And with Armin, I always thought that Aaron was kind of comfortable and confident letting Armin make all the plans, and, you know, Aaron's always looking to Armin for strategies. But in this final leg of his life, Armin can't be there for him in that sense. he's forced to follow his own terrible plan. And I can imagine those additional feelings of disappointment and isolation could turn to resentment. Like, why can't you be here for me now? So
Mhm.
I think, obviously he still loved both of them, but he might have had a real bone to pick with both of them too. The most convincing lies are intertwined with the truth, essentially. So a true method actor, Aaron, Academy Award.
I also think Aaron had other grievances with Armin because if you remember, back in season 3, it was around or before Midnight Sun, or Hero, but there was that flashback where Aaron was asking Armin, "Why don't you ever fight back? You're so used to losing." And Armin is
Mm,
like, "I'm not losing. I'm just not running away." Maybe
mm,
Aaron finds some discontent with that because, in a sense, what Aaron did, he did run away from his friends, from everything,
yeah.
and he
Yeah.
lost everything.
Yeah. Also, just thinking about this now, like, remember Aaron's whole fascination with the outside world came from Armin, and he was the first person to learn that it was really not that great. So
Yeah,
maybe in a way he's a little upset or towards Armin for planting those ideas in his head, just kind of setting himself up for disappointment, really.
yeah,
So maybe in a way, yeah, I think there he does have a true he has grievances with both of them. That made it so convincing because Aaron's not exactly an actor. I'm just saying, a few seasons back, Aaron would have not been smart enough to pull this all off.
oh no, not at all.
Aaron was always my little dumbass in the earlier seasons. So when he became menacing, not only in like this brute force kind of way, but also like in this calculated strategic kind of sense, I was honestly kind of proud. I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, well, shit, okay.
Yeah, no, that man learned a thing or two in a
Yeah, he
couple of
did. I don't
years.
yeah, I don't even know from who, like who's conniving and scheming like that. I don't know who taught him the ropes on how to be like that, but I mean, he learned well.
I mean, maybe Zeke, Zeke
Maybe
was
Zeke.
Zeke was quite the actor. There was that huge portion where like I couldn't even tell he was gonna betray Marley, betray Paradise. There was
I
a
know, but he did play with Zeke too. So I
he did. Yeah, no, I actually felt really bad for Zeke near the end.
yeah, like
And I
he
didn't,
really thought Aaron gave a fuck about him.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't like Zeke that much because he killed Irwin, rest in peace, Irwin. But it just seeing how, Zeke kind of treated Aaron as like, an actual brother. And then Aaron just went around and did this. It kind of stung a bit.
Yeah, I mean, what I always thought was the situation was I always thought that, because Aaron's true loyalty was to his friends on Paradise. So
Yeah.
even though he was able to empathize with the Warriors, he never actually forgave them for what they did. And he always kept like a
Mhm.
distance between them and never really, like with Reiner, like he learned to empathize with Reiner and see the plight and how he was kind of forced into this, but he never really looked past all the suffering that he inflicted upon his own people and his friends.
Yeah.
All right, so Aaron in this page reveals the plan to, in his defense of Paradise, frame himself as a lone wolf, essentially. And I mean, I'm not sure how plausible it is that the outside world would embrace Paradise, where the threat came from after that. So not sure, but okay. It's hard to explain, but my big thing with these explanations in this chapter is just they just don't seem like that well thought out.
Yeah.
Like
Like
we're
if this
taking some big chances here for like very little guaranteed results.
Yeah, like I think that's my biggest issue with the ending, that it's just too much of a gamble.
Yeah.
Like
I
like
mean, like to
oh
me,
sorry.
Aaron's always seemed like a high risk, high reward kind of guy. And this doesn't seem like very high reward. Like maybe they'll trust us. I don't
Mhm.
know. And trust me, we'll get to that when we see what happens to Paradise in those 8 pages. But
I mean, this is a story all about high gambles. Like, one
mhm,
of the climaxes was
literally
literally like,
Erwin's character in a nutshell.
yeah, yeah, one of Irwin's like, final moments was literally him gambling his life and the life of the majority of all the other scouts just for the small possibility that Levi could take out the Beast Titan on his own.
Yeah.
And even that felt like less of an of an insane gamble as this does, you know?
Yeah.
Because now
Oh,
we're talking about 80% of all life.
yeah. Also, I should have given this disclaimer in the last video, but I say both paradise and paradise. Like I slip back and forth
Oh
into
yeah.
either. And I know it's pronounced, like I know it's spelled to be pronounced paradise or paradise. So yeah, I messed up. But if the show can't pick a way to say Bertolt, I can say what I want here. So I don't feel too bad
Yeah.
about it.
Valid, valid.
Bertolto, Bertolt, burnt
For
toast,
404.
birth control. Here we finally get the statistics of the genocide. 80%, 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5. Our lovable protagonist, everyone.
Yeah.
I just realized that these are the two characters with the highest kill counts in the whole story, I guess, aside from Ymir. But Aaron saw Armin kill tens of thousands of people in Liberia and get all emo about it. And he's like, watch this. And look at Armin all horrified. Oh no. There's something about them having this conversation in their child forms. And
Yeah.
like them, this is where they would sit and look at the book and dream of what they would do in the outside world. And now they're talking about what they did to the outside world and how
Yeah.
terrible it is.
Yeah. It's really horrific in a way. Small thing, but I like Aaron's little, they won't be able to take revenge anytime soon. Like,
Anytime soon. I guess the ending wasn't soon. So to sum up this page right here, we're setting up, we're gonna get the tea on the founder Ymir. And the next pages demonstrate that maybe we just should have not done that. Because
yeah.
I'm not, let's just say it, we're not exactly gonna be liking what we learn.
Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier. I don't really like some of the coming panels.
Yeah, we're entering yikes territory.
I do like this little detail though, how they visit the areas from Armin's book. I think
Yeah,
it's really cute.
yeah, it's nice. I honestly like this chapter is very sweet about Aaron and Armin's friendship. Like this is so touching to me that, and now they're teenagers here, right? Or are they 12?
Yeah,
I
they're
don't know.
like the age they started at, like
Mm,
I think.
yeah.
I think if you communicated this concept to me and before I even read it, of like Aaron passing away, but going through the storybook with Armin one last time, I think I would have found it like a really beautiful way to end the story.
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
I think where a lot of the issues come in is like the little kind of wording issues that we're gonna see shortly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. We'll get into those right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so eek, okay, let's go. So it is revealed that the reason pretty much behind everything essentially in the show is that Ymir felt indebted to the king because she was in love with him. Her abuser, her horrific abuser. This is a difficult situation as an audience member. It's hard to critique because all these months later, the question is still, is this poorly written or am I just deeply uncomfortable with it? Because it is really disgusting. But given the time I've had to think about it, I'd say that this is obviously an extremely complicated relationship that took a long time to develop into what it became. And we just did not explore it well enough. For this to be basically the cause behind everything revolving around the Titans, it's just not only such a wretched concept, but a half baked one at that. And that's to me why it felt so just lackluster.
Hmm.
Because I've seen a fair share of disturbing yet fascinating relationships brought to life. And what's important is more understanding how we got there, not necessarily making us root for it. This also kind of backs up my idea that Aaron and Mikasa are not meant to be perceived as like a standard like relationship or like a ship we're meant to support, and that's a standard way. Because instead we only kind of want it for them in this hypothetical sense because they want it, but we're kind of plagued with the knowledge that in our timeline it's just not happening. It would just not work out because of this like loving but dark dynamic that we've seen in like serious complexes that would make both of them difficult partners. It's just not a normal romance because we were supposed to be rooting for them as a couple. Is this really the parallel we're trying to give them?
Yeah.
We're comparing Mikasa's devotion to that of a literal case of slavery-induced Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite kind of parallels of a relationship in all fiction. Have you seen Hades Town?
No, I haven't. I know I'm a theater kid who hasn't seen Hades Town, and that's really embarrassing, but please elaborate.
I'm going to go really brief on it so I don't spoil too much. And also
Mm-hmm.
because I think anyone who watches this should absolutely watch it. It's a beautiful work of art.
Mm-hmm.
But Hades Town tells the story of Hades and Persephone, but also the
Oh,
story
wow.
of Orpheus and Eurydice, two different relationships in mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hades and Persephone being the story about Hades,
Mm-hmm.
trapped Persephone in the
Yeah.
underworld with a
Story behind the scenes,
pomegranate.
yeah.
Yeah, and Orpheus and Eurydice, the story of Orpheus, the singer,
Mm-hmm.
going down into like, the underground to
He's the
save
one who
his.
couldn't like look back, right?
He couldn't look back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The story does a good job of showing a parallel between these two relationships, even though one is obviously kind of more toxic than the other.
Yeah.
But it does a good job showing a parallel between where they both failed,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of connects them in a really genius way. And I don't think it's impossible to to show a parallel between two relationships where one is obviously more toxic than the other by a huge magnitude.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue is it just wasn't set up well, and
Mm.
it was very last minute. Like, I think
Yeah.
the I don't think it would have been as big of a shock if it wasn't just like thrown in there. And I think that's what, I love Isayama. I love this story so much. But I feel like the framing of the founder Ymir was in love with Carl Fritz, they wanted it to be a shock. Um,
Yeah.
when it's something this big and it's in the last chapter, you can't get away with that and
Yeah,
not
I
have
definitely
it.
feel like
Oh,
it would have been more effective if we saw like more glimpses into their relationship, just like, you know, not just him abusing her, like, maybe include a scene of them kind of getting along and showing that it was more complicated than that, that there were mixed feelings going on. You make an excellent point. Like it is possible to show that. But I mean, what I was trying to say was like, even if it's not necessarily to compare and say it's not that, it's still kind of bringing Aramika down into this conversation. And
yeah,
although I am a little confused because I think thematically we get a little convoluted because like 3 pages ago we completely dispelled that the Ackerman slave stuff that Aaron said was completely made up, right? And
yeah,
we just vindicated Mikasa of this accusation, and now we're going to introduce another slave parallel.
yeah.
Like
It's
this girl
weird.
can't catch a break. Like I understand that the idea is Mikasa's decision shows Ymir that there is love without servitude or bondage, but since Ymir has always been watching her, like wouldn't that mean that she was interpreting Mikasa's bond to Aaron pre-beheading to be some sort of servitude?
Yeah,
Like even if both Aaron and us, the audience, knew that we knew that she just loved him, I guess the question there is whether Ymir was waiting to see when Mikasa made the choice or if. Because what I just said would ring
yeah.
true if it was if.
I honestly think the only way you could just fix this is just by like, and this is gonna be like a really dumb answer, but I genuinely think the only way to like avoid this is to just not do this at all.
Me, same. I think it was. I don't think we needed it.
I honestly think a better explanation, and I feel like I either told this to you or someone else, but I think it would have made more sense if like Ymir's reason wasn't, that she was in love, but that she was, filled with hate. Like,
Yeah,
just go the Castlevania route. She hated
yeah,
humanity for like turning her into a slave and making
yeah,
her go through these hardships. So now she's literally causing the most like prolonged suffering in humanity, because with the Titans, that's what causes this cycle of hate, the cycle of war, the cycle of just violence towards, each other. And
yeah. Exactly.
I think it could also make Ymir tie back to Eren more excellently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could show that like when Eren gave up his hate to be killed by Mikasa, I think that can make it, they can make it so Ymir finally understood what it means to just like, you know, I don't know, poor, I lost my train of thought. Wait,
No,
let me
I
go back.
understand. I mean, Ymir and Aaron both had like, I mean, if you want to go that route with the hatred with Ymir, it could have been, uh, both Aaron and Ymir acted out of like this extreme vitriol towards the world. And yeah, I think that would have been more compelling as well. If this could have been really fascinating had it been given more time, because you see, like, I'm up for the dark twisted shit. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just I need it to be well done. Like, you can't throw a curveball like this at me and expect me to just go along with it like that.
Yeah.
Uh, and this also, like, I don't like how it would, affect the other relationships in the show. Like, the story and the characters free Mikasa of the slave accusation, like this being subservient to Aaron, and then it might be implied that Ymir was branding it as exactly that until she cut his head off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess she needed a grand gesture to show that it wasn't. Ymir needed the conversation with Zeke because we could have avoided all of this.
Oh, I love this. I love this panel a lot.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
It truly is. I can't wait
Yeah,
to see it animated.
yeah. Although and this is like the big like kind of plot twist moment in the story that like changes the direction of the conversation when we find out that the person of destiny that Ymir was waiting for was not Aaron Yeager. It was Mikasa. Uh,
Yeah.
Obviously because she was the one who ends Aaron's life, and
Mm.
ultimately ends the cycle of the Titans for now. Um,
Yeah. Honestly, I want to add this in,
mhm,
because I was also thinking about this. If I were to go with like my small change of making her 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 modus apparatus, like if I were to change what her driving force was to hate,
mhm,
I would make a huge change in the final battle, and I would make it so that the person she waited for was Armin, because
mhm.
it would give the interaction in Midnight Sun when Aaron's begging to like save Armin a lot more meaning, especially when he says all I have is hate. He doesn't see the world like that. And
Yeah,
I think it would
definitely.
also add a bigger punch to what he says immediately after, which is the person who's going to save the world is Armin.
I think if hate was Ymir's motivating factor, then Armin would have definitely been a lot more of a like important player thematically. But because it was love, then Mikasa is the one who kind of has to step up to the plate in that regard. And I'm not gonna say that like there's like I like Mikasa's. I like love being a motivating factor. Like I just like that. I wish it
Yeah,
was better written or better set up on Ymir's end for Mikasa to
yeah,
parallel. I just wish that was explored more because it just, you kind of had to make
yeah.
that up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's kind of interesting because one good thing I will say about the love thing, even though I don't like how it's written, is that it does feel like set up in some regards, because the
Mm-hmm.
only other character in the show who's like really motivated by love is also named Ymir, which is kind of a funny thing to think about.
Exactly.
I do like that component, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Is this the Oh yeah, okay. So this is the first page where we get the beloved and completely satisfactory only Ymir knows.
Yeah.
Very loved line, very beloved by the fans, embraced, totally not ridiculed. And but however, to me, it does make sense that Aaron wouldn't know this because he doesn't know what Mikasa does. But this is the first instance of like the question isn't really rhetorical and there's no thematic reason for there not to be a true answer. The answer should exist. We're just not going to get it. And I can understand audiences being annoyed with that.
Yeah.
Although now that I think about it, Aaron could access and interpret the results of the rumbling, right?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Like he knew that 80% of the world was he was succeeding in that, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So like what? He sees Mikasa running towards him with a blade drawn and then, cut to black and he's like, I don't know what she does.
Yeah.
I don't know. But Also, I think it's sweet that this is the panel that he's thinking about with Mikasa. The thank you for wrapping the scarf and her blushing and whatever. That was a sweet panel.
One of the few sweet moments in this story.
Yeah, did you know that the creator said that in this scene here they were supposed to kiss?
Yeah, I read that, but apparently he was too shy.
I was like, okay, we can draw the mass murder, but not a kissing scene. All right. You're more comfortable with Stockholm syndrome than a consensual kiss. Okay. In this page, Armin begins to like really sympathize with Aaron's plight. And here is where my heart truly breaks. He's seeing everything at once. And for some reason, just like the my thoughts have become incoherent line just like makes me tear up, honestly. He's been so stripped of his humanity that he's like lost the ability to even think. You've seen Doctor Who, right?
Yeah.
Remember the end of the first season where like Rose looks into the TARDIS and absorbs all of time and space into her head and she's just
Yeah,
burning
Bad
up about to
Wolf.
go. Yeah, that's always like my go-to visual for a character that's just like their mind and their head is just and their body is just overwhelmed with information and knowledge. And that's always like the kind of like she's literally about to collapse and burn up and she literally can't take it. And that I always thought was a good visual for that. And that's what I imagine Aaron's feeling right now. Like,
Yeah, it's hard not to be sympathetic when you
mhm.
hear that because it's like just like the word choice too, like incoherent. Like
Mhm.
it's really like a fate worse than death, I'd honestly say.
Yeah, it's like to lose track of who you are and to not be allowed to just be a person, I think is definitely a worse fate than just being killed immediately. It's like to do all that to deteriorate into that to then be killed. You're just kind of like spiraling down the drain and you just know that like you're just gonna just drown. Like it's gonna be over for you. Yeah, I can imagine like it makes sense that Aaron wasn't smiling too much for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh no.
Oh, there's this. This is
Oh no.
another.
This was a oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, first of all, jail to whoever called this the Gabby Hanna Titan.
Yeah,
Jail forever.
that's so messed up.
I don't know what she did, but like now I can't unsee it.
So what if I'm the monster that's been here all along?
Yeah, honestly.
I had my reaction to this back in April with my brother when the chapter first came out. We did exactly this when it came out. We were just like, what the fuck, Aaron? The one who let her go that way was Aaron caused his own mom to die.
What'd you say?
Aaron caused his own mom to die.
Yeah, like that stung a lot.
Yeah. Some people are saying it's a mistranslation though, that Ymir killed Aaron's mom and not him. And I just don't see what the point in that was, because Ymir has been killing people the entire story, essentially.
I also don't think Armin would look as horrified.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Ymir was behind the death, and she was behind Ymir's been behind pretty much every Titan related death in the entire show. So there's just no impact if it was just her, but like, nah.
Just looking at the panels alone, Armin's face doesn't look like he just heard Ymir killed my mom. It sounds like he's hearing Aaron say, "I did it," Like I'd say that probably next to when Armin first heard how many people are gonna die, this is probably the most horrified he's looked this whole chapter,
Yeah. And you see, this is where I have to bring up my main problem with like this revelation of Ymir's influence over Aaron, because Ymir instated this kind of like timeline that Aaron is forced to execute. I just don't like it. Like I find myself being naturally resistant to acknowledging it when I have these discussions. Like I personally really resonate with the concept of Aaron essentially being a host unto himself, like a slave to his own fate and his worst desires. And like the irony of him always preaching about freedom as he was forced to carry out this twisted future of his. not only did I feel that there was like a profound tragedy to that, but thematically, I think it suited the story really well. Like to me, AOT was always about cycles, specifically the cycle of hatred. And Aaron being a victim as much as he was a perpetrator of his actions, I thought was a really poignant way of channeling that. It's a way to build sympathy for him as well as hold him accountable. Just like in real life in society, it's not our fault how we're raised, but it is our choice to perpetuate certain beliefs and actions. So to me, Aaron represents this cautionary tale of when society gives in to its worst impulses and frustrations. I'll elaborate on Aaron's motivations later, but for now, I'll say to me that there is no better, more direct, beautiful, and horrifying demonstration of this cycle than Aaron being the one to kill his own mother, like to inflict his own suffering. It's all him. He is the force and the cause behind his own inciting incident, basically. So then to ultimately find out that, you know, Aaron's being somewhat puppeteered by Ymir just doesn't, it just feels like a bit of a betrayal to that. Like I feel like we lose some nuance there. Like, you know, sometimes adding more forces doesn't always make things more nuanced. Especially
Yeah.
because we just don't get to uncover that much about Ymir or her love for the king, which is apparently, like, again, the reason behind everything. And, you know, okay, maybe something just came into my head right now. Maybe, you know, okay, if Aaron is his own cycle, Aaron's a spinning wheel, maybe Ymir is the force that spins the wheel. Like Aaron's the wheel, Aaron's the wheel, Ymir's on the side doing like this. like
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
I mean, it does.
It doesn't.
It
You
took-
don't have to be nice.
No, it actually does, like a wheel, and like there's just this like small child just like spinning it around. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, regardless, this is just such a dense concept that only has this last chapter to develop. And if we were going to marry this idea of Aaron as a cycle with Ymir's influence, I just think we needed a lot more time, personally.
Mhm.
That's just my problem with the chapter in general. Just like, it's just, trust me, I love reading between the lines, but there's just a little too much subtext. Like there's a difference between ambiguity and underdevelopment.
Yeah. This definitely scratches way too close to underdevelopment, because again, this is just like the reveal earlier with Ymir. Like you're dropping something so on the final chapter. Of course,
Yeah.
people are gonna be like, "What? Wait, no."
Yeah, and here
Just
we
let
are.
it
Like
out.
we've already moved past it.
It would be like if they revealed that Dina Fritz was the Titan who killed Aaron's mom, but they didn't include the scene where she met, you know, Grisha, or she, you know, was teaching Zeke with Grisha. They just like, out of nowhere, just dropped, oh, by the way, Grisha's ex-wife is the Titan that killed. Like this is really big information you're dropping.
Yeah,
on
this
us.
is one of the biggest reveals in the entire show.
Yeah.
I love how all the major reveals of the show involve this one Titan.
Yeah, that's
Like
wild.
she's responsible for some of the biggest like gasp moments.
Yeah.
Good job, Dina. Iconic.
You stand.
The fight between Grisha's two wives is really like captivated the audience.
Yeah.
Has some very big consequential fight right there.
Yeah, no, Isayama just wanted to write a 139 chapter romance novel about an ex-wife and a new wife fighting. You know, but he couldn't get the characters working, so he just made this instead.
Yeah.
Quite a shame.
Oh, and like the worst part about the underdeveloped, like, the worst part about how that's handled, like look how quickly we move on from it. Like
Yeah.
it's like now it's hand holding and like let's go, Aaron. It's like what?
It really is a bummer, because if you were to develop it more, you know, that scene of them, you know, holding hands and then finally arriving here on the beach, I think it would have resonated more. If you really developed Aaron's trauma associated with, like, you know, his mother's death more, and Armin's realization around it more, if you were to just develop it a little bit more, then I think the panel where Armin leads him to the sea, you know, the sea they always talked about, it would have hit. It really would have hurt a lot.
Yeah, but like we move on so quickly, and then what about Mikasa? Like, don't get me wrong, that's my homegirl, but Eren just admitted to killing his mother, and we're asking about Mikasa, if he thinks she's cute or whatever. I just want to
Yeah,
say
no.
before I get into it that this final, like this third panel on the bottom of Eren is probably my favorite drawing of him. I think he looks so dope there.
Yeah, he
His
looks swole.
eyes, like I just love the way they draw his eyes in both the anime and the manga, but his eyes are just, they look so cold and so empty, but so full of energy at the same time. You feel me?
Yeah.
Okay, so Armin asks if Eren thinks Mikasa, who obviously has an intense, unwavering devotion to him, can move on with her life and find someone else. Eren says, I don't know. And so Eren giving this aloof, flippant answer causes Armin to punch him again. And I mean, I don't know, man. The beats of this conversation just feel kind of off for me. Like, I'm sure, sure, his answer sucked, but is it a plausible segue into the screaming and the punching? I don't know. And again, in the anime, if they build up Armin's anger at Eren's attitude towards Mikasa with like music, editing, additional lines, etc., the emotional beats for me wouldn't feel as disjointed. It's like with this chapter, just like every one line of dialogue, add three more. And that's honestly like my quick fix for it. Oh, and by the way, with us saying when this is animated, it's not us dismissing manga as its own medium at all. Like for me, my love of AOT encompasses both manga and anime, and seeing how they influence one another is actually kind of part of the fun. And whenever there's something in one that's less than stellar, it's comforting to know that there's a better version that exists somewhere else. Because that's
Yeah.
true for both. Like they both have their pluses and their negatives in depicting certain things. And that's honestly probably the true reason that I never got that heated about this last chapter, because I'm like, guys, we kind of have two tries at this.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Manga is a perfectly great medium on its own. This is just a really specific instance where the story being told isn't up to par with what people were hoping for.
Mhm.
So every now and then we'll keep saying, maybe the anime will do this and do this. And this isn't us trying to say, that the anime is better, the manga is better. It's
Mhm.
just, there are some points of contention that everyone will agree on, whether you like this or not. And it definitely is nice knowing that those points can be fixed.
Yeah. And I mean, all I'm saying is that like the jury's still out on how this is all really, really gonna end. Like the true last note of the series, of the franchise, we haven't seen it yet. So I think that's always been like kind of a comforting thought for me, because I feel like people treated this like it was the apocalypse. Like,
Yeah.
and I was just like, dude, we're gonna get literally a redo in like a year, relax.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wait. No, I'm not moving on. I have a lot written about the next few pages. Okay, so in this page, we get an attempt to properly hold Eren accountable for his blunt, dismissive treatment of Mikasa throughout most of the series. Honestly, a bit too late. I feel like this would have applied best back in the earlier seasons, back when he really was a dick to her. Armin's spitting some facts here, saying that she should move on, and that it wouldn't be difficult to find someone suitable. But Eren is he's not trying to hear that, as we will find out momentarily. Ooh, it's coming up! It's coming up! He's on the ground! He's on the ground! It's coming! Ah, there it is!
There it is, the one that really pissed off the Chad Aaron fans.
Yeah, no, he whispered, and there it is, the most controversial, ridiculed, divisive panel in recent memory is just a dude on the ground crying over a girl. We're gonna be on this one for a minute, though. I got a lot of notes. I bet to outsiders, though, this just seems so ridiculous. Like, this is the one that got the people so pressed. It's because this panel completely destroyed this very popular fan favorite perception of Eren as this stone cold badass. And the fact that it was man bun Eren, like the Chad Eren that that had the weeping breakdown over Mikasa, like that was targeted.
Yeah.
That sent a message. That was deliberate.
Can we just talk about for a second how it wasn't the Stockholm Syndrome panel. It wasn't Eren admitting that, he killed his own mother. It was this panel that caused the biggest, outcry, and like you see so many people just causing a storm about. And
Yeah,
honestly, I think this is one of the least offensive things in this final chapter.
yeah. I guess we should talk about what's actually being said here now. So this
Yeah.
is the hallelujah moment for the Eren Mika stands, where Eren outright confesses and confirms his romantic feelings towards Mikasa. This is like the Oprah gift moment for them. Uh, and a couple minutes ago, I made fun of how infamous this panel was, but it really does stand out from anything Aaron's ever said. Aaron has 100% been the emotional crying type, so that's not new, but something about like the vocabulary here, Aaron thinking of himself as Mikasa's guy, it's just brand new dimension for him that we've had almost previously like no insight into. And it does feel like a little jarring. Like on the first read, my brother and I were like, oh, fuck, okay.
No, I don't want that. Oh, okay. I mean, again, Aaron Mika canon. I didn't know it was that strong.
Yeah, I didn't know he cared about it like that either.
I did not know that it was that deep with him.
We didn't expect it to be so fully realized on his end. Like it was definitely a surprise. Obviously during the time skip by 123, Aaron had reached romantic conclusions about his feelings for Mikasa, but I mean, we didn't see that as an audience. We didn't see that develop on his end. And I feel like there could have been a way to keep that dimension of Aaron understated enough to build up to this reveal without completely ignoring it. Because I'm not going to say this feels like it's out of nowhere, but it just definitely feels like we revved it up. We went from like, not 0, we went from like 20 to 100.
Yeah, I do agree. This really is the position we've like never seen Aaron in before. It really seemed like the only thing he loved his whole life is just hatred and letting his rage out. So it is weird seeing this side of him, and I do think it could have been built up to more, but like as far as sudden plot drops in this chapter, I do think this is like one of the least offensive ones.
Oh yeah, it's not offensive at all. It's just we never seen Aaron think of himself like in that context, like in the context of a relationship, like a romantic relationship. We've just never seen that before. And I mean, that's just like a flaw of shonen in general, to like kind of ignore the romance until it's suddenly really important. And there just needed to be more scenes with them too. And I think with those added scenes, Aaron's words here could serve as a bit of a blanket explanation to wrap everything up. Even after I die, I want her to hold me in her heart for a long time. There's just so much that could have been explored with that. Like how Aaron knew he was going to become this despised monster who commits unforgivable acts, but he knows Mikasa would still love him. People have always been distrustful of Aaron's intentions, but Mikasa always believed in his empathy and always stood by him, which makes sense. She's the only person who's seen that, comforting, kind side of him. And this could all be reflected in how he wants to stay being loved by her, and that he wants that positive image of himself to stay present in the world through her. So Aaron can at least be fondly remembered by, you could say, the only person who really has the right to do so. And to me, that's like really sweet, but I just made it all up. That's just me just interpreting the text and making reach after reach.
Yeah, honestly, I just love how kind of pathetic it is. Like, I think this is really one of the more human ways to go out. And I think it's really in character for someone like Aaron. A lot of people always point to this as like the most out of character, like Aaron has ever been. And, we were even talking about that. And I do agree that this is out of character for what he's been up to this whole, I do think this is out of character for everything he's been doing up until this point. But in a way, kind of how pathetic and kind of sad it is does fit him.
It does.
It fits how he was crying out in the crystal cave. It fits how he was like, crying and just like
in front of when Hannes was killed.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, this is kind of what Aaron's character is. And like, it's fitting. I think it's sad, but it's fitting.
No, I just think that something this important to the story should have been fleshed out a bit more in the canon. Like, I think had the sentiment been displayed earlier, the one I made up, I think I mean, I wouldn't say like I completely made it up, but I would say that like it's very much like you had to go looking for it. I think had that been established and displayed earlier in the story, it could have been actually a really great springboard for Eren to come around on his romantic feelings. Like, imagine they're in Marley and he knows he's about to do terrible things and the whole world is going to hate him, but Mikasa is still by his side wanting to share her ice cream with him.
Yeah.
Like wouldn't that be plausible? Wouldn't that be cute?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm a total sap, so I'm always envisioning this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely think that would have given a more compelling reason for Eren to kind of suddenly fall into that, romantic context with Mikasa.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I mean, this isn't me trying to completely trash how Eren and Mikasa were written. Like I said, I do think, like I said in the 138 video, I do think they were successful in their own twisted way. But where the alluring factor wasn't necessarily watching character A and character B's personas interact. It was more like the beautifully tragic circumstances surrounding them that tugged on the heartstrings. You can't call it a normal ship. The best thing about them is that they don't get together.
Yeah.
But I just do believe that there could have and should have been more. And now that the fate of how this couple's presented is in Mappa's hands, hopefully they take the initiative to flesh it out more.
Yeah, I hope so.
Moving on, the same people who were upset that Eren had emotions to begin with were criticizing him and calling him selfish for only wanting Mikasa to love him. And now I will say, I think, back in their training days, back in like the earlier parts of the story, like that scene of Eren getting jealous over Jean complimenting Mikasa's hair shows that, even though Eren was openly annoyed by Mikasa's attention, he still kind of coveted it in some way. But I believe I believe personally that you're judged by what you say, not what you think. Nobody is 100% pure-minded. The true test of character is knowing what the right things are to filter out when engaging with others. And the first example could be called selfishness because he is expressing and imposing his feelings onto others. But here, he said the exact opposite to Mikasa. He said the right thing to Mikasa. He said the selfless things to her. And he shouldn't be judged for this little bro moment he has with his friend.
Yeah.
Lastly, before we finally move on, I just want to say that this is when I concluded officially that it wasn't his baby.
Damn, so now I'm thinking that baby is not Eren's.
Yeah, same.
Well, we're going to wait to discuss that when we get to the panel of Historia and her daughter.
This is I like this panel.
Yeah, I don't want to die. I want to be with her, with all of you. Ouch, owie. The one that got away by Katy Perry, like the soundtrack to this part of the panel, this part of the chapter. But here we have Eren sympathizing with Eren after punching him and yelling at him. And I just gotta say, that Armin kind of weirded me out this whole chapter. Like he was kind of flip-flopping a lot for me. Like it felt like his character was just there to draw out certain reactions from Eren rather than adhere to where he as a character had already drifted. And we haven't even gotten to like the line yet, but I don't know. Armin had some questionable moments, and it definitely made me wonder like what the objective was here, even though it's like Eren just kind of spilling it all, I guess Armin's reaction just kind of confused me. Oh. I don't know why it expands like this, but whatever. Okay, we see what Eren did to the planet, so yikes.
Yeah.
It's just like on a geological scale, what Eren did would count as a mass extinction.
Yeah, no,
like,
undoubtedly.
Sorry, what was it called? The Great Dying.
Rumbling?
No, the in Earth's time, the Great Dying was right before the Triassic period, before the Mesozoic era, and it killed 90% of the world, 90% of all living animals. Oh
yeah, the Permian Triassic.
Yeah, the Permian Triassic extinction event, right before the dinosaurs showed up. 90% of all living creatures were extinct. And so I love how Aaron's just right behind them.
Yeah.
Aaron's at 80%.
Oh my god. That's a
Yeah.
B.
So this is the segment that's meant to address Aaron's motivations for the rumbling, right? And obviously, I'm somebody who doesn't mind having to read between the lines. But if this is supposed to be Aaron's lament to his friend, where he just kind of bears it all and explains himself, the I don't know why it makes the scene feel kind of empty to me, because I believe that the story actually developed a pretty sufficient answer as to why a part of Aaron wanted to destroy the world, even though he fought it internally and knew it was wrong. To elaborate, I believe the answer to why Aaron did the rumbling is in 131. Like, Aaron always had this innate disgust and disappointment for the world he lived in, and he said, literally, I wanted to wipe it all away. Because I always thought that the because I was born into this world line that Aaron repeated wasn't some, mantra of prideful ownership, like, oh, this is my world, I'm going to protect it. It felt more to me like a bitter admission, like, I'm trapped here, I need to do whatever I can and get out of it.
Yeah.
Like, even as a child, when he was killing those people for Mikasa, I didn't see him as somebody who was delivering justice or defending what was right. It was more him lashing out at what he couldn't stand. It was him demonstrating his hatred for the injustice more than, defending the justice. That's what I'm saying? You understand me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this all goes back to Aaron's desire for freedom, which to a person like Aaron is completely insatiable and unobtainable, because his idea of freedom was the sort of pure weightlessness and, not to be tied down by anything physical, circumstantial, or emotional, which is impossible in human society. Like, it's hence all the very overt bird symbolism, because that's the type of freedom he wanted, and he as a person could not achieve that. It's rather childish, and I think the way Aaron reverts to a child when discussing freedom reflects that, most importantly in that really one horrifying 131 panel where it's just him in the clouds, freedom. It's also imprisoning, I think, honestly. It sounds naive, but being somebody who doesn't know how to stop and smell the roses just sets you up for permanent dissatisfaction. Aaron could never really appreciate what was right in front of him. And it continued to add to his schema of being trapped, because nothing could ever be enough. And I think that's another reason he and Mikasa was never going to work. She was right there and he just couldn't see her. Or even Armin. It was always about the worlds or the Titans or himself, with him. It wasn't until I think after he kissed Historia's hand that he kind of expanded and incorporated his loved ones into his sight and realized all he did have in front of him. Like that scene on the back of the train with all his friends and him wishing to pursue a romance with Mikasa. But by then it was already too late, and he had to kind of barrel further on his own. I actually kind of like that idea though of Aaron being someone who can only see through like narrow tunnel vision, eventually being forced to see everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like from oversimplified linear to chaotic omnidirectional mess.
Yeah, no, it definitely fits his character motivations as well. At the start, he was really driven on one specific thing, and it was just killing all the Titans, And now it's just grown to this, this monstrosity we're seeing on this page right now, this mass extinction.
Yeah, the giant footprints.
Which I just want to give some credit to Isayama. This is probably one of the most unique doomsday scenarios I've seen in fiction as of recently.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if this has been done before, like giants stomping all over the earth and just destroying everything. But it's really unique and kind of horrifying to think about.
Yeah. Again, like here Aaron is saying that he wanted to do it and he doesn't know why. And it's like, well, I thought we kind of did know why. I'm confused.
Yeah.
Like, again, there is an answer, but we're just not gonna get it.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I do agree with what you said, that I don't think we really needed a reason. Like, it felt self-explanatory.
Yeah, but the only thing I was saying was just, if this is like kind of like the bear all conversation to Armin, you know, if we can figure out the reason, and Aaron in himself in his heart knows the reason, then fess up.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's not that important. I mean, actually, no, it is important, but whatever. I mean, I think the message still gets across for us, the audience.
Yeah.
Oh no, here it comes. First, I want to say he looks like a baseball.
Does.
Yeah. Okay, that there's nothing else to talk about here. Okay, we gotta talk about it. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. Aaron, thank you for turning yourself into a mass murderer for our sake. I
It's
swear I won't let this transgression go to waste.
it's giving that one line from Star Wars where Rey's talking about her parents, like, "Thank you for selling me to protect me," or some shit.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the Fairy. It actually reminded me of a different Star Wars line. You know, the one where Rose crashes into Finn, and she's like, "This is how we win, not by destroying what we hate, but by saving what we love." It's just like I get what you're going for,
But
but
no.
no,
I've seen a
it's
lot of people recently try and defend it. It's just a poor selection of words.
it
Like, I don't
is.
know if the translation is to blame or the very concept of the sentence was just too icky to be conveyed no matter what. But yeah, it did not hit like it was meant to. I was like, if Armin were to say this on a talk show, it would be met with complete silence afterwards.
You kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
I think this is the biggest sin of the issue personally. Like there are a lot of other faults. I think the Ymir thing is really bad. The lack of build up to Aaron's mom, that was bad. Aaron in the water, sure, that was kind of weird, but at least those can be defended somewhat. I don't think there's a defense for this.
Yeah, it's like, also I think it contradicts what Aaron just said. Like, he just said he was gonna do it anyway. The call was from
Yeah,
within.
yeah,
He
it's
wasn't resorting to this for you guys.
yeah, it's weird, man. It's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I said about Armin weirding me out. I think these final chapters showed that it was Armin and not Mikasa, oddly enough, that was naive when it came to Aaron. Like,
Yeah.
Mikasa's first impression of him was murder, and she started doubting him and where he'd end up way earlier than Armin did. And leading up to Aaron's death, her attempts to reason with him felt like, she knew she was prolonging the inevitable. I feel like Armin actually thought he could be saved. And, you see Armin here with tears in his eyes, like, really reaching out for his friend. And yeah, it's just so, it's good. I really hope they tweak that one in the anime.
Yeah, they really have to make that line translation different.
Yeah, again, like AOT is kind of having a bit of a a PR situation going on right now.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna help it. Neither is the Ymir being in love with the king. That's not gonna help its image at all.
Yeah. A lot of people have been kind of stating that the subtext of Attack on Titan is analogous to a certain ideology that starts with an F. I don't know if you could even say this on YouTube anymore, but
I think you can. They make whole video essays about it.
people have been trying to claim that Attack on Titan is fascist. And I personally strongly disagree with that sentiment because I think as a form of media, Attack on Titan critiques the cycle of war, racism, and hatred in a really good way. I think it communicates those themes in a really good way. But let me just say, I feel like this line really doesn't help defend it against those claims. Because like on the one hand, yeah, I love this story because it is unapologetically, anti anti-fascist in a sense. It's anti these cycles of hatred that divide us. But then on the other hand, you have this character thanking another character for committing what is essentially the largest genocide campaign imaginable.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really not going to help it against these like critiques,
Yeah. You're first of all, you're really right. Like, yeah, it's gonna be hard to defend. We're gonna be fighting for our lives in the group chat. But again, I do have a problem with the depiction of racism. This is true in so many different stories that are supposed to be like analogies for racism, but the problem is like the futility of racism is that we're all the same. There's no difference between you or me, even though we're different ethnicities. Once you introduce an actual metaphysical difference between two peoples, that you start to lose the connection. Like, okay, these people can turn into titans. That does make them different, and that does, I'm not going to say warrant their oppression, but it does create an othering sense, like the X-Men versus the like the mutants versus the I was about to say the muggles. Whatever the normal people are in X-Men are called. Like, listen, if there were a group of people who can literally make, the earth explode if they wanted to, or can like level a building, like, yeah, that's something to be scared of. But this person in the real world and our real racism, this person who's literally the same as me, there's no logical reason to think of them as something different to you.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. That's the thing about stories like Attack on Titan and X-Men. You can try to tell a story on anti-racism, but unless you're sticking it very closely to reality, it's very difficult to paint that injustice if you're trying to like add supernatural elements to it.
Yeah, I guess now that there is no Titan power, now it would be like an even playing field, and the history of it lingering, that would be a bit more of a closer comparison to today. The worst offenses though for me are like robot racism stories. It's like, oh, like we're human. I'm like, no, you're not. It's not the same.
Yeah. No, but I do think such stories do serve a good purpose.
Yeah.
Especially in the youth. Because I feel like, racism is something that like, the youth need to know, to have a general dislike towards. Hopefully everyone can agree with this statement.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really difficult sometimes to like really communicate the complexities behind it. But you put these stories of these like people in bright costumes that are discriminated against just because they have a special ability. And out of nowhere, the kids are like, oh no, that's bad. Why are they being
yeah
Wolverine?
Definitely, it's definitely good. So it's a good like educational situation.
They have a good purpose, but I do think you raised a good point where at the end of the day they can't strike home to the core injustice behind racism. But I will say I think Attack on Titan does make a good effort, because like at the end of the day, what is different about them is something that's like it's, I mean, there are some like Eren, Reiner, etc. that can control it, but if none of these people ever get injected with spinal fluid, you would never know.
Yeah, these people are normal. My battery went out. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, this video, like unedited, is gonna be like 2 hours long. So we're done with that. We're done with this page.
Yeah, let's just leave it behind us, never to look at it again.
Exactly, bestie.
This is sweet.
I know, literally, that's exactly what I wrote. This is sweet.
Yeah, I do think this is like really nice.
Yeah, this hug right here. I said earlier that I theorized that Eren harbored frustrations with Armin. And here I just love that we get to see Eren express that admiration that he's always had for him. Like, that you're the one who's going to save humanity. Like, I believe in you. And also reinstate that idea of Armin as a capable successor to Erwin. Okay, so moving on. Shell.
Back to this.
Shell. And this is Aaron's goodbye to Armin.
Yeah.
I like how he gave both him and Mikasa a hug as he said goodbye.
Yeah, it's nice.
Then Armin wakes up from the conversation and oh my god, it's a bird.
My God, be on the lookout for those.
Armin wakes up from finally remembering the dream after he gets punted by Eren one last time. And Falco crashing down is funny to me.
Yeah. That poor kid.
So in real time, Mikasa had just killed Eren right before she kissed him. Very girl boss. If you Google search Mikasa K, you'll get kills Eren and then kisses Eren, auto-generated. I think that's really funny.
It's even funnier that it's the same scene.
So true. And I mean, one thing though I do have to say about this is I just realized this a couple days ago that this is kind of a gender reversal of the look what you made me do cliche, you know, that like problematic trope where a male character, a male hero has to kill a female villain they were in love with because they kind of went off the rails and became a danger to everybody. Yeah, Mikasa reclaimed it and girl bossified it.
Facts.
It's like opposite Dark Phoenix.
The G in Mikasa stands for girl boss.
I didn't catch that at first.
I was hoping
I was about to be like, so true. Yeah, exactly. Like completely oblivious.
Just smile and nod.
She approaches with the severed head. Peaceful. And she looks so like they look so solemn. And he's just horrified at the sight of his dead friend. Yeah. And even though this isn't the first time he's died in front of Armin. Oh, and then them three crying and mourning Eren together. Do not talk to me when this gets animated.
Oh yeah.
Like, do not talk to me. I will be an inconsolable mess.
Yeah.
And I can't read kanji, but I'm assuming do you think this is like his crying here, or do you think it's like sound effects?
I really couldn't say.
But I think, you know, regardless of it, it would add like auditorily speaking, it would add to the like the cascading like emotion of the scene, I feel. And Mikasa and Armin both recall, like, you know, we finally realized that they both were set memories from Eren. Thank fuck.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna rage quit.
Oh my god, yeah, this was a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah, everyone was saying it was a cop-out. I'm like, shut up. Like, I needed this for my own mental stability.
No, this just felt right.
Yeah, it didn't feel right to just like kill all these people. Like, for what? Like, I feel like in fiction like this, you know, not to say that there haven't been disposable characters, but these weren't disposable characters. These weren't characters that just died for nothing. Like,
yeah. I really don't like the trope of just like killing a bunch of people at the same time at the end. You know? Like, I think it's
you
fine.
like Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I think it's fine to, like, you know, kill a bunch of main characters, like, you know, chapters across and near the end. But if it's just all at once, I feel like it just doesn't feel right, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, everyone's waking up with the memories of Eren's conversation. And okay, I know that pacing is important and we all have publication limits, but I would have happily sat and read each and every one of the conversations that Eren had with his friends and Reiner. Also, I like how with, like, you know, similarly to Mikasa, the memory of these conversations gives these characters like a positive final note to end on with Eren. I just think that's sweet.
And this is sweet.
Yeah, just like, you know, all like the false reunions we got last chapter. Now we get real ones.
Yeah, and now here's a scene that everyone will agree is one of the best.
Exactly, yeah. This one right here, everyone agrees, everyone loves.
It's just perfect. Like I couldn't imagine a better ending for Levi.
Yeah, like the way I'm gonna be weeping come winter 2022.
Oh, I will sob hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry now.
I'm like getting emotional just thinking about this. This is like,
Oh yeah, like writing these notes, I was like crying.
yeah.
Hanji should not be there. That's my hot take. That's my hot take. Hanji should not be there. It's like Levi has lost so much. It shatters my heart. He's the sole survivor of like his generation of the scouts, and it breaks my heart. But I can't ignore the comedy of all three of Levi's love interests standing dead in a row.
Yeah.
I saw this meme. It's like POV, your ship with Levi, and it's a grave.
Oh my God.
But yeah, okay, back to serious. I'm compensating because I'm just trying not to cry. It seems that this is how it ends, the goal that all of you dedicated your hearts to. I'm guessing that we're gonna hear the Sasagayo line one more time, and we're all gonna cry. And we just see him do the salute and we see a single tear fall. Fuck.
It's powerful, man.
How the fuck am I not supposed to cry if Levi's crying?
That's true. If Levi cries, it's okay for you to cry.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that you know, Aaron's death or like everything leading up to or after will make me cry, because I do think it's really sad, but I don't know, it doesn't hit me as maybe it will when it comes out later. But I
I'm
know
gonna be crying the entire time.
I know without a doubt this scene will break me though.
Yeah. And then Yams decides to torture us more and bring back Sasha.
Yeah, this also really hurt.
Yeah. And you know, for a moment, my brain forgot that these people weren't really there, and my gay ass was like, "Where's Ymir? Bring her back."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Fuck.
It's all right. It's all right.
No, I'm not gonna cry in a video. No. Okay.
Let's go past it.
It's something I can't stop looking at her smile. She looks so like happy that I don't even know. She was just such a happy person. I can't pick what specific thing would have made her feel happy in this moment. She was just such a happy person.
Yeah.
Okay, scrolling.
Scrolling.
Fuck.
Oh, that scene between Gabby and Falco is really cute.
Yeah. You know, even if Gabby is somebody that I never grew emotionally attached to, you know, despite respecting her character and loving what she represents, you know, seeing her genuinely joyous after shedding her hate and ending that cycle just feels really gratifying. But I'm not okay with seeing it right after Sasha.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I know why, that, you know, there are 2 consecutive links on like this conflict chain, but still, ouch.
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah. We also have like this nice moment with Reiner and his mother, which I have more to say about Reiner's character resolution later, so I guess I'll wait. But for now, you know, this is a very nice moment because, you know, he wanted to please her so badly and want, you know, her acceptance. More misery with the EMA trio.
Yeah.
Very nice of Aaron's head to not be profusely bleeding all over them.
Yeah, he's being very considerate even post-death.
Yeah. Mikasa makes the assumption that if someone else got their hands on Aaron's remains, oh shit. I'm frozen again. Mikasa makes the correct assumption that if someone else were to get their hands on Aaron's head, they would not give him a proper burial. And she's right. They probably play like kickball with it or some shit. Like, he'd be mad disrespected, fed to some dogs.
Yeah, just like his old aunt.
Yeah, this right here is gonna mess me up so hard. And like just like the beauty of Mikasa taking off her ODM gear, like letting it fall to the ground. She's done. She's done fighting. And then she disappears into the steam or the dust or whatever, and is presumably not seen again for a while.
Yeah.
It's funny as imagining the logistics of how Mikasa got back to Paradise while smuggling a human head is. As funny as that is, I'm actually very fascinated with what her headspace was on that journey back. Like
Yeah,
her coming to grips with what she's done and how she's going to move forward with her life from that point on. Like I'm really interested to maybe get a glimpse into that, but I'm guessing they're going to keep it mysterious for the sake of the story.
Yeah, no, probably.
Yeah, this is her disappearing into the steam and the dust, and
Yeah,
I really think this drawing of Mikasa up here is very beautiful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like almost a smile, like almost like it's like reassuring, like it's gonna be okay, like we did the right thing. He'd be proud of us for what we did. We did
Yeah.
good by him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then Armin wipes his eyes and turns around to see like to face the consequences of what happened.
Here's just the confrontation between
Mhm.
what's left
Mhm.
and a very reasonable amount of fear here considering what just happened.
The Marleyan forces arrive to confront the Eldians, and it's confirmed outright that there's no more Eren and there's no more Titans. There's no more people either, but victory, I guess.
Yeah.
This scene, I mean, it's just kind of irritating because you can see it all revving up all over again. Like the conflict that this fight was meant to resolve, you can just see it repeating itself, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's in character. It's like story appropriate frustration.
Here's Armin stepping up to the plate, doing essentially what he did at the very start when he had to like defend Eren's life, but now at a much larger scale.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of steps up as diplomat to prove them to the Marleyans that they're no longer a threat, to try and like de-escalate the situation, because you can tell like the shooting was about to start again.
Yeah.
Like it was bad, but his girl Annie looking mighty impressed. Most notably about Armin's assuming responsibility is that right here he claims responsibility for killing Eren. And it's so nice that he did this. I mean, honestly, he's far better equipped to handle the political fallout of this title than Mikasa is. And that also puts him in a more strategic position for negotiation, because if he's going to be Paradise's ambassador to what's left of the rest of the world, he's not going to be suspected of supporting Eren, his actions, and being a similar threat if he claims that he's the one who killed him. Yeah, I think Armin is best utilizing how Eren laid out the plan, come out looking like a hero, essentially. Although I would say it might be a little insidious, considering like Armin was the one most resistant to killing Eren.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is one of the first of the new panels, right?
Yep.
Ymir and Mikasa.
Yeah.
So this is the first of the 8 extra pages. Okay. I only skimmed these and left like the most basic notes because I didn't want to come in with nothing, but I didn't like deeply think about it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay. It was you the whole time, wasn't it? The one who was always peeking into my mind. Oh, right. This is the explanation for the headaches, right?
Yep, it was Ymir giving her the headaches.
I was thinking it was her like Ackerman defenses against memory manipulation or whatever I said. But generally, I thought it was Eren trying to get into her head, but nah, it was Ymir. So that means Ymir was the one summoning or recalling those visions and flashbacks in her head, right?
Yeah, kind of, I believe.
I'm not entirely sure what to do with that information. So in the time in the cell where Mikasa was thinking about, Eren killing those 2 men, was that Ymir trying to remind Mikasa of his violence? or even more, the OVA fantasy that Mikasa has, where she has to accept the inevitability of Aaron's death and how he'll always be out of reach for her. Was in the end, was Ymir coaxing Mikasa towards making that decision to kill Aaron? Like,
Honestly,
or maybe like,
I don't know. It just
yeah.
it sets up a lot of questions, kind of. I don't think we're gonna know the answer to,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
like maybe like vicariously influencing Mikasa to do what she knows she should have done to the king. Like I don't
Maybe,
I
yeah.
don't know. Like I already subscribe to the idea that Mikasa is what Ymir wishes she could have been, you know,
Yeah.
autonomous in her own relationship. But again, I think that kind of gets contradicted earlier with other stuff I mentioned. But again, with that panel, you know, that Aaron wasn't inflicting that kind of violence upon her. So I don't know. I guess I have to sit on this one a bit more. Sorry.
No
Let's finish
worries.
the
Yeah.
rest of the page.
Yeah.
Your love must have felt like a never-ending nightmare. All the lives that were taken can never be regained. It's only because you brought your children into this world that I stand here. I'm not sure how to feel. It seems like the goal of these panels was to kind of redeem Ymir in the eyes of the audience, which not going to happen if we have to infer literally everything, I guess. A missed opportunity, to be honest. Let me. Is there anything afterwards, or is that like the next? Okay, yeah, it's okay. Okay, goodbye forever. Yeah, okay, so you know, Aaron eliminated the power of the Titans, so Ymir's soul is disintegrated, finally put to rest.
Finally free.
Yeah. Although I would like again missed opportunity. I think it makes sense to me why Aaron wouldn't know why Ymir was waiting for Mikasa, but if we're gonna have a scene with these two characters, why not give us a bit more, you know, insight, like why Mikasa specifically? Like there had to have been like other like why was she the one that you mapped onto as opposed to someone earlier?
Yeah.
Also, I'm just thinking about this now. If Ymir is influencing Mikasa, I think that also kind of would strip her autonomy slightly. Because it's like she's directing her to that conclusion that, you know, if it's meant that, you know, Ymir was kind of behind all of the visions and the flashbacks and all that, like if that were the case, then Ymir had like that vicarious thing, I think rings further true.
Oh yeah, I think you raise a good point that the way Ymir's connection to Mikasa was framed really complicated their parallel. Because in a way, it seemed like they were being paralleled to show how they're different. But like you said, it kind of just Ymir's actions kind of just made them feel similar in some aspects. And it was definitely a bit clunky, and Ymir could have been developed more.
It's so strange to me because Mikasa has such a fantastic arc that we'll talk about in the final few pages that's executed through her actions, but the writing around her seems to be trying very hard to contradict that. It's like Mikasa's gonna display all this growth and everyone's gonna try and undermine it by comparing her to the Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. No, it's true.
She walks away with the head. Oh no. I want to live in the timeline where the publisher rejected the storyline so bad because it was just not worth it.
Yeah.
I think no matter what side you were on when it came to this, in the end, we're like, yeah, we didn't need this.
Yeah, the baby was kind of pointless.
Yeah. I'm not going to belittle anyone for thinking that this was Aaron's child, because even though I never saw any romantic chemistry between Aaron and Astoria, there definitely seemed to be like a connection between him and the baby. And, you know, that was just us misreading it. You know, it was supposed to be like this with death brings new life kind of theme. And not actually meant to insinuate that Aaron had anything to do with the baby. But Aaron ex Astoria as a ship, on the other hand, I will drag. Like, also remember, we've established that I'm like just the fucking L collector when it comes to AOT ships. So I'm not coming from this place of superiority. This is just me saying how I feel. Because like I'm not rubbing my victory into anyone's face because I've had no victories.
Yeah, just L's.
Yeah, collecting L's one after the other, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I got them all. I just don't see it. Romantically speaking, like I see thematic connections between them, but nothing that indicates attraction or that would culminate into them becoming a couple. Like I just don't feel it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just weird.
yeah. Also, I'm sorry, but shipping Aaron Historia is just so aggressively heterosexual. Like,
Yeah.
like you can't convince me that there isn't an agenda behind it.
I know that's right.
Yeah, no, just to let Historia, you know.
Just let her be
I
gay.
yeah,
What's so bad about her being gay? Come on.
we were robbed. We really were.
Yeah, you cannot convince me that there isn't some agenda behind it. Like, and they're the people who are most likely to say that her and Ymir were just friends, and that's just proper erasure, okay? And
Yeah.
they're the ones who call Ymir obsessed with Historia and not in love, and that really sets off the homophobia radar. That sets off the radar.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my real bone to pick with these people.
You're disguising this as Aramika versus Arahisu, but really it's Ymir x Historia versus Arahisu. That was the true end goal all along.
Yeah, literally, like it's so much of it is just denying that very real relationship, and I'm not having any of that. And like
Yeah.
most of the guys on Reddit don't even care about any romantic chemistry or thematic connection between the two of them. They just want to add Aaron secretly fucking the queen and leaving her alone and pregnant to his Chad discography or some shit.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck. I need to coin the phrase Chad discography.
You do. All right, onwards.
Oh wait, no, one thing, no. You know, I was watching this anime ship statistics video,
Yeah.
which is the worst sentence I've ever said.
That is a very bad sentence.
But you know, it was just seeing what the most searched anime ship over the years was, and by far and away, number one was Aaron and Levi.
Bro, he's like 40.
Yeah, and it's just funny how vicious the ship wars between Aaron slash Mikasa and Aaron slash Historia are when neither of them even made the board when it came to the shipping fandom. It's completely dominated by a slash pairing that has absolutely nothing to do with the plot.
Wow.
And yeah, no, you missed it. Yesterday, the Levi x Irwin shippers were fighting with the Aramikas, and I don't even know what those two groups of people would have to be arguing about. But
That's yeah, what are they arguing
I
about?
don't know. I think like the Agar bond or some shit. I don't know. But nevertheless, it consumed my timeline. It was not pretty, and I think everyone should go watch that statistics video. And it was the reality check that I needed to not get too heated over this stuff, because
Yeah,
in the end, the random crack ship will always win.
that is true.
The two twinks are always gonna win, even though Aaron's not a twink by the end of the show. He was a twink in 2013.
Yeah,
He was also 15.
that
but,
is true.
you know.
He was 15.
They're not trying to hear that. Also, before we move on, because I can't let anything go, I just hope she named the baby Ymir.
Oh yeah, yeah, me too.
Although maybe the optics of that would be really bad if the world doesn't know which Ymir she's referencing.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, so we're getting our first look into the state of the world 3 years later in the state of paradise. It's quite politically factioned as it was 3 years ago. The Jaegerists have kind of usurped and become not usurped, it seems, but become a very powerful political influence. It seems very popular with the people. It seems that I personally predicted the people of paradise did not feel secure with the rumbling plan, that the world was going to just be chill with them from here on out. This seems rational, because I mean, if I were the rest of the world, I wouldn't be like, oh, paradise, they're just chilling now. I'm like, no, the rumbling started there.
But yeah, no, this is I feel like the people who criticize Attack on Titan for supposedly being fascist, this is what they imagine the entire series to be, like these couple panels. This is very much a bad ending for Paradise, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The only hope, I guess, it really has is that we're gonna get to it, but a lot of the remaining wielders of the 9 Titans are now diplomats for Paradise, which is
Yeah,
good.
we're gonna get to that soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
and just something
very.
so haunting about them chanting Aaron's exact phrase. And I wonder, like, if that's something that Aaron repeated, or obviously he had to told him to someone, because this is what he told Mikasa in the cabin when they first met. But it's just such a, ah,
I think something I really like about this is how if you look in some of the crowds, you can see people look like, disaffected and kind of like, not enjoying this, because this is real to what like a lot of past nation states like this were like, like
yeah.
there was so much vitriol and evil behind a lot of fascist states, but there were also so many people living in those states that
Yeah, who
like
didn't support it.
they didn't, but they just had to keep quiet because like,
Yeah.
and it's really cool how you can look in the background of some of these shots, like the first one or the third one, and see people who are very obviously like, not with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like Isayama communicates a lot in these panels without saying it.
Mm.
It just shows it.
We're just gonna hear Tatake as a chant down here.
Yeah.
I just think it's like it adds to the menace that, we first heard these words when Aaron was motivating Mikasa to kill someone.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, these people, like the intentions of them, it's definitely fear operating them rather than, logical progressions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the government in place still is in charge, but they have to contend with all that's going on. And this is where we get our last image of Historia. Historia as a character always kind of made me a bit sad, because I think her biggest thematic parallel to Eren was how she had this drive to be autonomous and free-willed, but was frequently forced into fulfilling very stifling roles. Forced to join the military, forced to become the queen, forced to have this rando's baby. Outside of her deciding not to eat Eren during this war, Ymir's wishes for Historia was to like and live freely and live proudly, and I feel like they went a bit unsung. But hey, now that we're dealing with the Jaegerists, maybe she can implement that into her approach. Who knows? I don't think it's
Yeah.
over for Historia. I definitely think that it's she can have a bright freeing future, but I just think from what we've seen, I think of that panel of her pregnant, like just how sad and just full of despair she looks, and I think she is a bit of a tragic character, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I would agree 100%. Like
Yeah,
she had a tragic upbringing, and even where she's left off and where she's progressed has been really tragic.
yeah.
I actually really like this next couple panels.
Yeah. I'm just noticing now that Armin has the Levi cut.
Oh yeah, he does.
This scene is somewhat comedic, but seeing the gang without Eren is just kind of bumming me out. Like,
Yeah.
As destructive a force Eren was, his best quality was that he was this like beacon, this like call to action. And the idea that he's just gone and has been gone for 3 years just makes me sad. It feels like this fire has been extinguished within the group. Moving on, we've got Reiner being a simp one last time, which I would laugh at. I mean, I am laughing, but I wish we got a proper resolution to his character. Reiner had become such a fascinating character towards the end, where he struggled, with whether his sense of duty and protection was worth enduring a terrible life and atoning for what he's done. And I think it definitely went beyond his mother, so beyond just pleasing her. So I think him patching things up with his mom and then paper sniffing is not very satisfying for him as a whole arc, but
he definitely could have had a bit more to do.
Yeah, like sure, he's not fighting anymore, but his guilt, his regrets, his outlook on life, like how's that going? We don't know. He's still simping
Yeah.
for the queen who's had someone else's baby. Who she went from being gay to having someone else's baby. Like, give it up, Reiner.
Yeah. I don't know. It is nice though to see like the cast one last time in a less, sad or depressing light. It's like a
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that I wanted to see Reiner still suicidal. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy seeing him kind of being goofy and having banter with the other guys.
He definitely should have had like a scene beforehand where it expanded on him more. But I think after that scene were to be put in, I think this is a really good ending point for the gang because it's like optimistic, it's upbeat, and it's like it leaves a lot to the imagination, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this.
Yeah, I really like what Annie says here, like who knew we'd be joining sides, and well, like everybody did. Everyone who
Yeah.
read the story and realized that it was that all you guys were just like two sides of the same coin, essentially. We all saw it coming, but I still appreciate the growth. Yeah, I like what Armin's insinuating here. Like, we're not going to persuade everyone to resolve their conflicts, but us standing here unified at least shows that they can be. We must tell them the truth of that story. Well, except the part of who killed Eren, because Mikasa pieced out of that life. We're covering that up. Before we go on to the next scene, I just want to say that this panel up here is like the serotonin boost I needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Levi getting literally every character he's been written to care about slaughtered in front of him. It just makes me happy that he's not by himself, that he's got Gabby and Falco there with him.
No, but this does make me really happy to see that he's like not alone, and he has people caring for him. It's really sweet.
Mm-hmm. I think I said this to you already, though. If Onya Capone is the last Black man, we're gonna have a problem. If Eren killed all the Black people, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
So furthest away from paradise would be the South. Shit.
I mean,
Wait, stop, wait. It ran out of battery again.
Again. A fucking again.
The way they staying there fully charged.
Is this the Blair
It's the rumbling. Oh no.
This is the Blair Witch Project. Oh my god.
It didn't even occur to me that you could do this over Zoom.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, they're here.
If it's in Madagascar, you're going across the ocean.
Yeah. This conversation has gone on for a little too long.
Yeah. The moment we start talking about Jesse Lee Peterson, you have to
I was like, let's stop.
Yeah. But no, I do think this series of panels, despite what implications we could get out of it, is a happy end for Levi, and it's a bit uplifting when compared to what we've seen prior. I think we should move on.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit so much of that out of the video. Like, you don't understand. I'm just talking shit with you. This is like the Leo DiCaprio meme. Like, every time we see a bird on screen ever, we're gonna be like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Edit.
This video has gone off the rails. What are we talking about?
It has.
Okay, time for the time.
Here we are.
And at last we arrive to, the original ending of the chapter, at the tree on that hill. We get the sweet little reveal that the reason everyone came to paradise to begin with was to honor Eren on the anniversary of his death. And I have the translation here. It says on his grave, it says, "Here forever, rest in peace, my most beloved, my dear, 854. Oh. I love like this kind of like fan interpretation that these are the words she would have used if she were to have confessed her feelings to him in 123. Like, that's a fan like little theory that I'm just gonna run with because I need it in my life.
But yeah, no,
As you can see, her hair is all grown out. I might be overthinking it, but I think her growing out her hair is kind of like a further confirmation that she's done. Like she's not fighting anymore. She's not a soldier. She's not part of the military. She doesn't have to worry about her hair getting tangled in anything. Just like the title suggests, she's just kind of like at peace, serene, just like living her life now. Which, strategically is probably a good idea since the Jaegerists are out here running the country now. The girl who killed Aaron should probably stay in hiding,
yeah,
especially if she's not propped up by like some political system like Armin is.
yeah,
Word gets out that it was her, like, and she supposedly doesn't have like Ackerman powers anymore because that was Titan energy. So, yeah, girl,
Yeah.
stay in hiding.
It's tough for her right now.
This, of course, is the tree that Eren and Mikasa spent so much time under together. And I think there's something beautiful about this one spot, that the world they lived in was so dangerous and so angering to Eren, but here he felt peaceful and relaxed and safe enough to take naps. Clearly, though, she misses him, and this made me so sad. I wish I could see you again. Like back when I first read this with my brother, I was struggling so hard not to break down into tears. Like the Hamilton flashback, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Like, oh hell no. No.
Yeah,
This was probably my first like initial grievance with the chapter. Like before these 8 pages, we just left off with Mikasa alone in mourning, and that just broke my heart. Like I was like, dude, this sucks. Everyone gets to have everyone gets to end in a happy place. But what does she do to you, Yams?
Thank you for wrapping the scarf around me, Aaron. Aaron's the bird?
I guess.
No! I'm just saying the image of her sitting on a tree next to Aaron's grave instead of hanging out with everybody makes me very sad.
Yeah.
That's sad, bro. Come on. And her saying, I want to meet you again. What does that mean? That better not mean like some Misa shit. She's gonna jump.
Wait, so you would have liked it more if like this scene was like, let's say it was her looking at the scarf, but she was with like a new husband and had kids?
Like this panel right here in the bottom center, like when her scarf becomes completely disheveled and she's just crying, I was like, dude.
Yeah, it's a bit uncool.
It's so sad. It's like it totally broke me. I guess we should take this as an opportunity to kind of sum up our thoughts on Mikasa as a character. I guess to start off, I'd say characters have their time and place to shine, and Mikasa is somebody who has an incredibly strong foundation in the beginning and in the end, but in the middle, we just kind of like flatline with her, I'd say. I was telling this to our friend the other day who was just finishing season 3. I was saying, trust me, the way Eren and Mikasa meet in the beginning perfectly complements how their story ends, with the bittersweetness and the foreshadowing is all perfect. It's just everything in between is a little scattered. Like the cogs that led to Mikasa realizing what Eren was have been turning for a long time, as the OVA shows. She was never blind to the situation. It was just kind of more her prolonging the inevitable. And I mean, I heard someone say that Mikasa as a character could have benefited from being introduced later in the story, and I get what they were saying, but you kind of need that early childhood introduction to understand the emotional bond she has with Eren. So I think, very strong beginning, very strong end. But yeah, Mikasa is a character whose purpose doesn't really reveal itself until Eren goes off the rails.
I agree 100% that Mikasa was necessary from the start, because I think at the end of the day, what Attack on Titan is, its fundamental relationship is like the trio of Eren, Mikasa, and Armin. And I think like from the start of the show all the way to the end, they're the trio that the relationships that like define every like character beat and every like emotional moment. And I think it's really sad that Mikasa got this ending, but I think the panel that's about to come up kind of, it doesn't alleviate the pain, but I do like where it leaves Mikasa.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing I want to say what Mikasa means to the story, I think AOT has a lot of messages about morality. And one of those things I picked up is that there are different types of selflessness. That, there's giving up your own physical safety, which, Mikasa obviously did very often, but there's also sacrificing your own wants and desires. And with these characters being in such dangerous situations all the time, the story very much implies that the latter is the harder one. Like with Erwin finally being forced to concede that he ain't seeing that basement. Mikasa put her life on the line every day, but she consistently struggled with acting against protecting Eren. And that's why I don't get people calling Mikasa weak for still being in love with Eren. Like, it's what makes her actions so commendable, that she did what she had to do in spite of how she felt. Mikasa has been killing people she didn't love. Like, where's the drama? Where's the growth if Eren's just another name on the list of randos that she had to take out? And what I can't stand even more is people trying to reduce Mikasa's character development to just her moving on from Eren. Like, It's about her bleak outlook being challenged. Mikasa is a character who's established to have this very negative worldview. Like, she believes it's inherently cruel, but more importantly, she doesn't have any real ambition to change that. Her mentality is that, the world is horrible and all that matters is protect the ones you love and try to shield them from it to the best of your abilities. But the final arc of the story calls for her to sacrifice the one person she loves the most and thought the most to protect in order to prevent that very cruelty from perpetuating. At the very beginning, she was willing to kill everyone else to protect Eren, and by the end, she's willing to kill Eren to protect everybody else. Like I said earlier, she struggled with selfish motivations where everything she did was to preserve her own wants over the betterment of the situation at large. She would insist violence in these drastic situations wherever danger was posed to the people she loved. Like that one scene in when everyone's on Reiner's Titan season 2, like where she clearly just wants to massacre everyone who poses a danger to Eren and ignoring the obvious benefits of talking things out. Yeah. And again, she did have to shed that towards the end where, when what's right for the world finally became prioritized over her own individual wants.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's not just like, oh, she managed to stop simping for Eren and that's it, that's her arc. Like, no, this was a serious change in perspective and her motivations became a lot less selfless. And I think, again, she was carrying the torch from Erwin in that sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think this is reflected in how, clearly in the first few years following the rumbling, she hasn't moved on from Eren. Oh, shit. Yeah, but like as I was saying, I think this is reflected in clearly how in the first few years following the rumbling, she hasn't moved on from Eren romantically, but she was still willing to change her priorities and seemed pretty content with her actions. Granted, we can't really have that outlook challenge until we have the inciting incident of Eren going off the rails and the perspective being forced to shift. So, maybe it doesn't pass the writing 101 class that Mikasa's inciting incident is like 3/4 into the story, but but whatever, it's there. And it's way more effective than a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah. So here we have the bird coming down and wrapping that scarf around her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in her mourning of Eren, Mikasa begins to break down into tears and her scarf gets unraveled until suddenly a bird just swoops down and, tugs it back into place. And Mikasa recognizes the gesture and thanks Eren for wrapping the scarf around her in this panel right here. So Eren's a bird. I know he's not literally reincarnated into a bird, or maybe he is, whatever. Maybe he sent the bird because, birds don't just be doing that.
Yeah.
Mikasa just had lunch. There were some crumbs up in there.
Yeah, no, I don't believe this is like genuinely Eren within the bird.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different interpretations I've heard, One of my favorites is like, it's just chance, which is it is a bit kind of a less fun outlook to have, but
yeah. I mean, I think, about the bird motif, I said earlier that Eren's idea of freedom is that, that he desired was this weightlessness, like the type that a flying bird possesses. I like that. I like the bittersweet symbolism of Eren being able to achieve that freedom only in death. essentially. Like in life, he felt that he was shackled to his own fate, his own circumstances, and finally in death, he is completely untethered. And in a certain sense, one could say that Mikasa was the one who, in a dark, twisted manner, freed him from that. And
Yeah.
I think that's what she means when she asks, you're happy, right? To the headstone. She knows that he's in a better place now than he was when he was alive.
Yeah.
Right. New pages time.
New
This was the
pages.
original ending. This was what we originally left it off on.
It was, yeah. And honestly, after a month, I was content with it, but now we have this.
Yes.
So
All right, so this is the first of a block of new pages. And again, I haven't looked at these like super in depth, other than this first panel, because that was viral on Twitter. So let's get into it. So many years later, Paradise has developed further. Mikasa is visiting Aaron's grave with her family. My prayers were answered. She did not die alone crying over Aaron.
mhm.
Also, Jean Costa canon. Congrats, guys. Good job. I mean, not proven, but not disproven.
That's true.
It's post-story, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm cool with it. Again, I was in shambles thinking Mikasa would never move on, and finding out that she did finding out that she did get with a man who's handsome, brave, and thinks she's like the best shit ever. I was like, lit, okay. Better than pawning her off to some rando. Rip Astoria stands.
True.
Yeah, this was the funniest day I'd ever witnessed on IAT Twitter. When we got this panel out of context and there was just one tweet. Like there's just one tweet that was like, when Light finds Elle's grave.
What do you think of that, Elle? This is my perfect victory! That's right! I win!
Yeah.
Who are you calling horse face now, Aaron?
I win. It's hilarious what constitutes a win in this fandom when it comes to the ships. Like Aaron Mika stands see one half of their ship murder the other and they're like, cope.
Yeah, it's funny.
Of course, I'm just messing around. Like I understand that like at face value, AOT isn't about romance. So all these ships are just scrambling for canon validation as opposed to like a legit happy ending. But still, nobody won. We all lost. If you shipped anyone in the show that wasn't Gabby or Falco or Armin and Annie, you did not get what you wanted. You got played.
Yeah. If you look at the panel right after that one, you can see Mikasa's way older now.
Yeah.
She has a cane and the buildings are like way more developed.
Yeah.
There's cars. So yeah, there's a passage of time going on. So like Mikasa and possibly Jean got to live long lives together.
Yeah.
If you look in the foreground, you can see that there's even more children there. So, and more adults. So like Mikasa's like family even grew old, like everyone in the main cast, like, assumedly, everyone in the main cast can be assumed as like having lived a long life,
Yeah. And then, it's what Aaron wanted. And some people were saying that this was like the entire gang here. And I do really think it is just Mikasa's family, and the wheelchair is just because her and her husband are old. Because people were trying to ruin my life saying it was Levi's after he passed away. And I'd just rather not.
No, they wouldn't. I don't think that makes sense. Like they just bring the wheelchair out when he's dead.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, it's definitely her family. And then here we see Mikasa being put to rest.
Yeah. So yeah, Mikasa is on her deathbed with the scarf still wrapped around her. Interesting that she didn't choose to pass it down to anybody. She chose to be buried with it instead.
Yeah.
So now we get into the really big shit that everyone went into crisis mode about. There is an outside attack on Paradise. It's just being bombarded with airstrikes and eventually is reduced to rubble, as we can see in the last panel right there. So the big takeaway is that the rumbling did not guarantee Paradise long-term security. Humanity did rebuild and they did retaliate. And I guess I wouldn't say this is completely contradictory to what Aaron had in mind, because one thing I always noticed was just how extreme and how decisive Aaron's plan of the rumbling was to protect Paradise, but how he would always tack on this weirdly modest, realistic time frame for how effective it would be.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna destroy the outside world, and maybe you guys will be all right for a few decades.
Yeah, I really do think his end goal wasn't ensuring safety for Paradise, but for his friends and like family. And
Yeah.
in the end, he got that. Like, if you look at the panel, like Mikasa lived to be old. She died. And
Mhm.
it can be assumed that, like, the same thing happened to Armin. Could be
Yeah.
assumed that, like, Armin, died and everyone else died of like an old age.
Yeah, because if it's to protect paradise, it's like, yeah, let's get humanity back a millennia for like 40 years apiece. It's a bit of a flop plan.
Yeah. Well, honestly,
People
I'd
were
say
calling
this
it
is
people were calling it the fumbling.
that's funny. Honestly, I'd say that, like, judging by like what we see in the panels, I think he gave them a good 100 years. Cause like I'm gonna assume
I mean, yeah,
Mikasa
tree. I think the tree is the best marker because
it
trees, take a long, long time to grow.
yeah, and I really do think 100 years or so around that ballpark is the amount of time he gave them. Because
Mm.
also like there's just so many buildings too. Like that's a full-on city.
Yeah,
Um
and I mean, Aaron never really said that his goal was to end conflict itself, and I think one of the takeaways from the story is that you can't. It's just a
yeah,
part of
it's
human
being
nature.
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah, and who's to say that maybe Paradise wasn't the one who instigated the second wave of conflict? Because we saw that the Jaegerists were eager to finish the job, so maybe they
Yeah,
went and antagonized the rest of the world again.
absolutely. But yeah, no, that's what we get from these panels here. And we see
Mhm.
that the tree remains.
Yes.
Um,
And then many, many years into the future, a young boy and his dog stumble upon the tree where Aaron was buried, still standing, and it's grown to be enormous. This
yeah.
boy, they called this boy Kevin. I don't know where they got that name from.
I was gonna say I heard some people called him Baron, like as a joke of Boruto.
But actually, I mean, speaking of that, of like, offshoots, his wardrobe here has me really interested. Because to me, his lower half, all the straps on his legs and his shins covered, it reminds me of like a cadet uniform.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what his occupation is, unless he is just like a wanderer, or maybe because I'm looking at this cardigan too. It's just meant to resemble Aaron because I'm guessing this is some sort of implication that the cycle will begin once more.
Yeah, let's just keep scrolling through.
Mhm.
Uh,
This is the final one, right? Yes.
yep,
This is the ending.
there you are. That's the final panel. And if you look at it, it's pretty on the nose of what you were saying. Like it's implying that the cycle will continue.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it is very surreal looking at this. It's like Adventure Time. No general
Yeah.
context for the state of the world overall. It's just been 1,000 years since we last, since the events of the last episode. It's just been an incredibly long time. And the tree now looks identical to the one Ymir Fritz fell into thousands of years ago and to become the first founding titan. And because this tree is so, unnaturally enormous the way that one is, and that one had the hallucigena under
Yeah.
it, and that's why it was so gargantuan. I'm guessing that, Aaron somehow like revitalized that energy or that creature and was able to do the same. So that power still exists within the world somehow. Not sure if it can be extracted the same way, but it probably can, given the implications. And now I'm looking at these birds circling the tree, which we now understand represents Aaron. And so the way they circle around the tree is kind of like an ominous indication of Aaron's supernatural presence there. I just think it's so crazy. Aaron is now the ancient forgotten tomb of who's like dormant powers could create the new founder. Like I think that's a
Yeah.
really, like, for the lore, that's really
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't like this the first time I saw it. Like I actually had a huge issue with it
Mhm.
because I think my issue with it was the original ending with Mikasa staring up at the sky was starting to grow on me.
Mhm.
This is how like open-ended and slightly like hopeful it felt.
Mhm.
It was kind of hopeful and it made me think, with the main gang as these diplomats, maybe there is hope, and Mikasa's not losing hope, and neither should we, the reader. But I think that this ending in particular, it does hurt, but I think it speaks more true to what the point of the show is. That like conflict is inevitable, and some cycles just can't be, terminated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think I do have something to say about that. I think, it is disheartening that Eren failed in permanently destroying the power of the Titans, and especially that he is the one, he is the lingering cause for it to the cycle to recontinue. To completely deny the rumbling any long-lasting success. It's just, what did these people die for? What did Eren, go to hell for? But I think I understand what this is supposed to mean. I don't believe that the message of Attack on Titan is that, efforts for peace are futile, humanities will always be in conflict, like nothing lasts forever. Like, I don't think that Izayama is arguing against those statements, but I think that's not really the point. Like, we follow these characters going through complete hell, and we see some drift away into darkness, but we see others rise up to the challenge and showcase the best in humanity, like the kindness, the empathy, the patience, the bravery. And, there will always be hatred, but there will always be good as well. There will always be people who are able to sacrifice what's comfortable and what they want for the greater good. And, there will always be villains, but there will more importantly, always be heroes. And I think that's what we're meant to celebrate, focus on the good that's there. Do what Eren couldn't for so many years. And I think that's the ultimate takeaway. That's my little piece on it.
Yeah, that's definitely a way better takeaway to have. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, this ending in particular has just kind of left me with like a doomer attitude. Like it gives off big, like just hopeless vibes.
I mean, the real message behind this is like, get ready for Attack on Titan 2.
Yeah, they're gonna Boruto it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Oh man, if Isayama made a sequel series, would you consume it?
Of course I would.
That was a dumb question.
Literally anything related to AOT, I'm gonna watch it. I need them to animate the high school casts because I'm gonna watch that. I need that in my life.
Honestly, I think it does have good potential, because my main issue with a lot of sequels is when they keep the old characters, but they're just like adults now and they have kids.
Yeah.
I feel like that dynamic's always dumb. I didn't really like it in Legend of Korra that much. But I think if they go the path where it's like a whole brand new cast, there are different themes they can explore that would be interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is going to be a completely different world. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna see, like, he ends up doing a sequel series, this is gonna be a world where, like, again, the rumbling was a mass extinction event. Like, this was like, how did the Earth? It's a completely different global atmosphere, and I mean, who knows? Maybe society will be just as sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay, and like, who's to know that the world hasn't become just as scattered and as isolated as it was thousands of years ago, or however long it's been since the ends of the story. Like, I mean, I'd be very interested just to see like how the world developed after this. And Eren again is this kind of like, Eren is now Ymir. He would be the founder in the new cycle. You mentioned Legend of Korra, how Korra is the first avatar in the new cycle. Eren is the new founder. He's the new beginning. He is the new what was his name? Juan.
Yeah.
If we I understand you want to go to sleep, so if you want, we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, let's just put in some closing thoughts right now.
All right, so this chapter definitely, this chapter got criticized as being hollow and kind of lacking in substance, and I think the length of this video proved that wrong.
Yeah, we're the ultimate defenders. We're showing how much substance it has by talking about it for like 3 hours.
I'm gonna have such a nightmare editing this, but there is certainly a lot to be left desired by this chapter, but it certainly
Mhm.
isn't the catastrophic disaster that people make it out to be. It's not this
Yeah.
career killing, story betraying. It's just not. There are certain things I feel like it does weaken overall in the story, but it's not a complete betrayal of everything you've been reading. Like this series has been going on since I was 9 years old through the manga, and now I'm by the time the anime is finished, I'll be 20. I really don't think that Izayama threw 13 years of work away. I think, you know, his dedication, his passion for it showed throughout. It never felt like he was phoning it in, like he didn't give a shit. Like I think he truly believed that what he was writing was um true to his own vision. Like I think all like those fake interviews of him like, oh, the publisher made him do that. Like that's BS. Like, and I think Izayama's actions since have just proven that he does stand by what he's written. It's not like cowardice, hiding behind a mob. I think that people are being very unfair to him. I think there's ways to criticize him without questioning his character or his talent as a storyteller.
Yeah, I absolutely do think time will be the greatest like critic of this final chapter, because when I first read it, I felt like a lot of things at once, and one of them was I felt really underwhelmed by it. And at first I really didn't like it that much, but like with time, I just kind of, you know, grew to appreciate some stuff in it more that I didn't appreciate as much the first time. With time, I grew to appreciate some things I didn't appreciate before, and you know, now, unlike my God knows how many rereads this one was, but I'm still just catching new things that I really do appreciate about this. And you know, even though these 8 pages may be controversial, even though you know they kind of do feel a little hopeless at times, kind of weird at other times, at the end of the day, it is the creator's vision. And like we said earlier, there's going to be a second chance at this. You know, if something wasn't explained that well, we're going to see all this in the manga in, I believe it's 6 months, maybe less.
You
Less
slipped it
actually.
up again.
Wait, what?
You slipped it up again. You said in the manga.
That's when I started reading the anime. So reading the manga. That's an infamous quote. I forgot where I said that and what I was saying.
You're
Let
like
me
when
just
I
start.
read the anime.
Oh my God, I keep making that. Sorry, let me go back. You know, no matter how you feel about this, we are gonna get a second chance at this with the anime. You know, once the manga gets adapted in 4 to 5 months, at the time of this recording, I believe.
Yeah.
We're gonna see, you know, the final work, and that's the really great thing about when creators work, you know, with the adaptation team. You know, we saw this earlier in the year with Invincible, and the creator, I know the first creator's name, Robert Kirkman, because I know he also made The Walking Dead, and I love The Walking Dead, but I can't remember the other creator's name. I apologize to that person. But they both came back to like help out with that. And through the creation of Attack on Titan, Isayama's been helping with that. And I really do think we're going to see some good patches coming for this chapter.
Yeah.
That's all. Sorry for the long spiel.
No, it's totally like, you know, I had a million this video, so don't worry. Yeah, I think there's endless discrepancies between different variations of the same story, and I'm just not scared. I think we saw before with the royal government arc, you know, Izayama said that he wasn't very happy with how he wrote that and that the anime improved it. And I've since read the royal government arc, and I think, you know, there are certain things that I wish the anime included, but I think overall, like the pacing, the structure, how it's executed, action scenes like inserted, I think overall it's a better experience. But yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, I think I'm running out of things to say, to be honest with you. I think what Izayama written was a very strong foundation to develop further. So I think if Mappa takes the initiative to flush it out, we could really have something magnificent here.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the only thing we can do now is just sit tight and get ready to rumble, you know?
Oh, bro, that was the worst joke I've ever made, and it's never gonna die. I think I'm enjoying this like somewhat tranquil state of the fandom, and I just know it's not gonna last. I know once this revs up again, once the season 4 trailer drops, it's over.
Yeah.
Peace demolished. It's like paradise. It's like the rumbling was the release of 139, and then
Yeah.
we get like a few decades of peace. We get a few months of just like everyone just kind of relaxing, and then the bombs start when season 4 comes out.
It's almost poetic, you know, in the same way that we look at this last panel and we see the cycle of the story starting back up again.
Yes.
We're gonna have to go through the cycle of this fandom screeching into a void in a couple months.
Yeah, like
all
the
over
black
again.
entrance to the tree. That's who we're screaming at.
Yeah, no, that black entrance is just like the discourse online, and we're gonna be entering it real soon, starting back up.
Yeah,
But
not gonna be pretty, but I'm prepared for it.
Me too. And you know what? No matter what happens, we've been through it once. So
Yeah, we know how to handle disappointment.
yeah, we do.
And I went through Game of Thrones, and nothing was worse than that, so I can handle anything.
That's true. That's true.
All right, I think that's all we have to say about this. Thank you for making it to the end of this very, very long video. We will be back to read ANR whenever that comes out. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and this will be us signing off.
Yeah, we'll
Bye.
see you then. And until then, dedicate your hearts.
Oh, you corny ass motherfucker.
Bye.
Bye.